Imagine that you're born black in the USA. More than 300 plus years of prejudice are set upon you the moment you walk onto the street. Out of those 300 plus years, 246 your descendants were slaves. Now, we've done some major legislation in the past 50 years in favor of the African American community. But as Mr. Floyd's assassination tells us something, is that it's still not enough. There's still racial discrimination out there that needs to be solved. In this video, we will analyze how the social discomfort generated from Mr. Floyd's assassination will lead to legislative and electoral change. All of this analysis will be done through the Civil and Political Rights Act. Now, we will set the precedent from the 1960s civil rights movement led by Mr. Martin Luther King.
First, let's get into some history. Here's a picture of Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat for a white person. This was illegal in 1955. Next up, in 1960, four black men from Greensboro, North Carolina, sat in a white-only restaurant, going against the law. Actions like this by Rosa Parks or those four black men in Greensboro led to protests and boycotts. It took until 1964, when Lyndon B. Johnson addresses the State of the Union for the first time, advocating in favor of civil rights legislation. Then, July 2nd, 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson and the government signs into law the Civil Rights Act. This law, it outlawed the discrimination based on race, sex, religion, and national origin. As an effect of the legislation done by Johnson, black turnout increased at all-time highs to 60%. This was the record until Obama broke it in 2008. Most of the black men voted in favor of Lyndon B. Johnson. However, there was a problem that still prevailed. There was voting suppression in the South. This voting suppression led to a march called Bloody Sunday. 8 days later, Lyndon B. Johnson addresses the whole country, and he proclaims that he will start a bill that defends the voting rights of black men. This became to be the Voting Rights Act. Now, let's go to May 25th, 2020, when George Floyd is assassinated by a Minneapolis police officer by choking him with his knee. This leads to a massive amount of civil unrest all over the country protesting from his death. And what is Mr. Trump's response?
Hopefully George is looking down right now and saying this is a great thing that's happening to our country. It's a great day for him. It's a great day for everybody.
And this is the people's answer.
In conclusion, if history tells us something, analyzing it from the 1960s civil rights movement, is that whenever there's civil unrest, whenever the African American community is hurting, when there's protests and riots in the country, it will show on the ballots. In 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson was elected president by a landslide. Black turnout was at an all-time high at 60%. Now, in this next 2020 election, it won't be any different. The Democrats will prevail and Joe Biden will be president. The reason why is that the African American community is hurting. George Floyd was wrongfully assassinated by a police officer, a white police officer. And that just shows that there's still discrimination in the country. But when Joe Biden is elected, major legislation will follow, and this police cruelty will end.